What is going on, guys? Welcome back. In today's video, we're going to build a simple but professional interactive financial dashboard using Python. So let us get right into it.
It's not a game, it's a rich thing.
Now, before we get to the actual video, I would like to mention that this video is sponsored by Bixley. And don't skip this part because this could be quite interesting to some of you guys working on software projects. Oftentimes, software projects are quite difficult to finish, and Bixley can help you with that. They have been successfully completing projects on time and on budget since the year 2008, so they have a solid track record of successful completion with the money they have, with the time they have. And they offer multiple different services. You can go to their website. You will find a link in the description down below, bixley.com/nn for Neural 9. And you can click on their services tab, for example, to see what they offer here. They have different services like no or low code type of services, enterprise development, DevOps, mobile development, and more. You can take a look at that. And if you need some help getting your project finished on time or getting it done right the first time, you can talk to the people at bixley.com. As I mentioned, you will find a link in the description down below, and they have a solid track record. And in addition to that, you can also get a free consultation by visiting their website on the link in the description down below. Alright, so this video should be the perfect foundation for you guys to build your own customized financial dashboard for the web using Python. And in today's video, I want to give you the toolkit that you're going to need to do that. And I want to show you an example dashboard, or at least an example of how you could use certain components to build a dashboard. And then you can go on and be creative and build your own customized version of it. So in order to do all of this, we're going to use external Python packages, the most important one being Bokeh, which we're going to use for the interactive web visualizations. On Bokeh, I already have a tutorial on this channel if you want to check it out. We're also going to use NumPy and yfinance. We're going to use NumPy for basic array handling and yfinance to get the stock data from the Yahoo Finance API into our script. Now, if you have another API, if you want to use another library, if you have CSV files with stock data, feel free to use those. Just get some stock data into your program. We're going to use the yfinance API in order to do this in this video today. So we need to install these three packages by using the command line by running pip install Bokeh, NumPy, and yfinance. And once they're installed, we can start with the imports. We're going to start by importing two core Python packages. The first one being math and the second one being datetime. We're going to give it an alias of dt. We're then going to say import numpy as np and import yfinance as yf. And then we're going to do the Bokeh import. So we're going to import a couple of things that we're going to need to build the whole interface. So basic figures, basic layouts, basic UI elements. We're going to start by saying from bokeh.io import the current document, so curdoc. Then from bokeh plotting, we're going to import the figure. From bokeh.layouts, we want to have two layouts. We want to have the column and the row layout, so row and column. And we want to say from bokeh.models, and here you can now import the UI elements that we're going to use. We're going to use for this example text input, we're going to use the button, we're going to use the date picker, and we're going to use the multi-choice. So those are the UI elements that we're going to use. This is the basic figure, this is the layout those are the layouts in which we can arrange those elements, and this is just the current document that we're going to use to build the whole thing and to display everything in the end. So those are the imports, and we're going to start here with the basic functions. The goal is to first load the data from the API, to then plot the data that we loaded, and to then also build a UI around it so that we can interact with the UI, with the visualization, so that we have buttons and selectors and date pickers so that we don't have to provide everything manually. And we're going to do it, as I said here, as functions. We're going to start with a simple function load data, and we want to compare two ticker symbols. So we're going to say load data ticker 1, ticker 2, and then also a start and end date for the range. And all we're going to do here is we're going to say data frame 1 equals Yahoo Finance.download or yfinance.download. We're going to provide ticker 1 from start to end. And we're going to do the same thing now for ticker 2 and data frame 2. And this function will just return a tuple with those two data frames. So df1, df2. That's all this function is going to do. And then we're going to feed that information into other functions, or into one other function. We're going to feed just one data frame so that we can do the plot 1. And then we're going to do another data frame. We're going to use the other data frame to do plot 2. So the second function here is going to be plot data. And we're going to pass here some data. In our case, this is going to be df1 or df2. We're going to also plot some indicators. And we're going to also sync the axis. By default, this is going to be no axis. And we can optionally specify an axis that we want to sync the current plot with. We're going to pass for now here. And the third function is just going to be the function that triggers when a button is clicked. So we're going to call it on button click. And here we're going to pass ticker 1, ticker 2, start, and indicator. So everything that we pass here can be then passed into the other functions here. And again, the basic logic is that we want to have a basic interface. We're going to build it down here now. We're going to say that we have stock 1 text, which is going to be a text input. And we're going to say that the title of this one will be stock 1, for example. And we're going to say stock 2 text is going to be stock 2. And then we want to have also a date picker for the from date. So date picker from, or you could also call it date picker start. This is going to just be a date picker. And here we can provide a couple of things. First of all, the string or the title start, not start end, sorry, start date. Then the value, the default value, let's say it's 2020, 1st of January. But then we can also provide, we can also provide a range of acceptable values like min date, for example, which is actually min date, not min value. So min date will be 2000, 1st of January. And then we can provide also a max date. And the max date, we're going to say the maximum date allowed is going to be dt datetime.now. And we're going to string format it. So we're going to format it into a string using the following pattern. We're going to say the year, so %y, the month, so %m, lowercase m, and then %d for the day. And this should then just take the current date, so today, and turn it into a string. Let's just put this here for the sake of the conventions and for readability into a separate line. And then we're going to also provide, actually, are we going to provide that here? Let me just see what I did here in the code that I already have. No, we're going to do that later on. So this is essentially the date picker. We're going to copy that now, and we're going to paste it. So we're going to say date picker 2, and then we're going to say this is the end date, and the value is going to be the 1st of February. So it's going to be 1 month of difference by default. Of course, you can change that since it's a date picker. So that's that, and we're going to also say then that we want to have an indicator choice. So instead of just plotting the stock price, we want to also plot some indicators. Now, you can choose whatever you want to implement here. Maybe you want to do some fancy technical analysis stuff. I'm just going to show the 30-day moving average, the 100-day moving average, simple moving average, by the way, and also a linear regression line. Now, you can implement also some more fancy stuff. I do have some technical analysis tutorials on my channel as well, but we're going to stick with the simple 3 choices here, and we're going to say that this is the indicators or indicator choice, and this is going to be a multi-choice element with the following options. The options are going to be a list of strings, the 100-day SMA, the 30-day SMA, and the linear regression line. Those are the choices, and we're going to handle those choices on the button click here. And we're going to then say that we want to have a load button, and this button should have the label load data. And the button type, this is basically just a style, is going to be success. So it's going to be a green button if I remember correctly. And then we're going to just say here load button on underscore click. And we're going to say lambda. So when we click the button, what we want to do is we want to call a function with parameters. So we're going to say on button click, we're going to pass here the stock text 1.value. This is going to be our ticker 1. So here we pass ticker 1, ticker 2, start, and indicators. So ticker 1 is going to be whatever is the text, the value of the stock 1 text input. Ticker 2 is going to be stock 2 text. So stock 2 text.value. And then for the date, the same thing. We're going to say just date picker from dot value, date picker to dot value, and then we're going to pass the indicators. And for the indicator choice, we're just going to also say dot value as far as I remember, because this is going to return a list of all the selected options here. So multi-choice means we can select multiple, so I can plot all of these at once. So that's that. Then we also want to put this into a layout. So we're going to say that my layout is going to be a column layout where I have the stock 1 text, the stock 2 text, then the date picker from, the date picker to, the indicator choice, and the load button. So a column layout basically means they're going to be stacked on top of each other. And once we have that, we're going to just say current document.clear. And then current document, this basically gets the current document, we clear it, and then we add to the root the layout here. Quite simple. Now, this is the basic interactive layout, and now we want to implement the actual functionality here. So what we want to do here first when we click on the button is we want to get the data for these tickers. So we're going to say here that df1 and df2 are going to be equal to load data for ticker 1 and ticker 2, and of course from start to end. So we're just passing that in, and then we're going to say that we want to have a plot 1, and the plot 1 is going to be the result of calling plot data. We're going to pass df1 to it, we're going to pass the indicators to it, and then we want to say p2 is going to be also plot data of df2 indicators. And since we already have a plot, since this is not the first one but the second one, we want to sync the axis, the x-axis to be precise, with p1.x range. That is the basic idea here. Now in this case it tells us that it doesn't return anything because we don't have code here yet, but that's the basic logic. And once we have that, what we want to do is want to say current document.clear, current document.add root. Want to add the layout since it's probably removed now, since we cleared, and then we want to add to that a row layout of P1 and P2, basically plotting the two stocks side by side. That's the basic idea, and now all that's missing is the actual plotting logic. And I left that for the end because this is going to be the most, not necessarily complicated, but we're going to know the functions here. We're going to have to know the functions here, and we need to take care of the different parameters. But that's the basic high-level logic. We have a load data function. We have a button click function that is triggered when the button is clicked. We have this UI layout here, basically choosing a date, choosing a start date and end date, 2 stock tickers, a couple of indicators, and then we can just load the data, plot the data, and then display it. And the plotting will now be implemented here in this function. The basic idea is that we want to plot a candlestick chart, and we want to plot a candlestick chart with optional indicators. So what we're going to do first, we're going to say that the data frame is going to be whatever we get as data here. And we're going to then say there are going to be a couple of days where we're going to have gains, and we're going to have some days without gains but with losses. So we're going to say that all the days where we have gains are going to be indicated by the closing price being higher than the opening price. So when you close higher than you opened, you have some gains in this day. So it's going to be a green day. And then you have also loss. A loss is going to be defined by the opening price being higher than the closing price. That's that. And then we also have, we're going to define the width of the individual candlesticks is going to be just 12 times 60 times 60 times 1000. This is just going to be 1/2 of a day, so that we have the candlesticks in the proper width depending on the time frame, and that's basically it. So what we want to do now is, if there is an axis to sync on, we're going to do the following thing. We're going to say if sync axis is not none, then we're going to say that P, the resulting figure, is going to be a figure. We're going to say that the x-axis type is going to be a date time axis, since the x-axis will have the dates. Then we're going to say that we want to have a couple of tools. We want to have the pan, we want to have the wheel, zoom. We want to have the box, zoom. We want to have reset, and we want to have save. And we want to have a total width of 1000. So this is the total width. This is the width of the individual candlesticks. And then we also want to say, since the axis is not none, we want to sync. We want to say x range is going to be equal to sync axis, whatever that is. And then we're going to say otherwise, just copy this and remove this. There you go. That's that. And now we can go into the plotting. We're going to say here p.x-axis dot major label orientation is going to be math.pi divided by 4. We're going to then say p.grid.gridline alpha is going to be 0.25. We're going to then say p dot segment, in order to plot a simple candlestick segment, the rectangle or the lines actually. So basically we have a candlestick, and through that candlestick you have a line, and this is the segment. So we're going to say here df index, which is the date, df high, which is the high obviously, df index again, and df low. So basically what we're specifying here is the starting point and the end point. The starting point is x-axis on index, and y-axis on the high point, and then the other point is going to be same x-axis point but on the lowest price. So you have a line from high to low. That's the basic idea here. The color of this is going to be just black, and then we're going to plot the actual candlestick. So we're going to say a V bar, a vertical bar for every gain, and a vertical bar for every loss. The gain is going to be green, the loss is going to be red. Very simple. So we're going to say df index, where we have a gain with the respective width, and then we're going to say df open, where we have a gain, df close, where we have a gain, and then the fill color of this particular object is going to be 00 ff00, representing green, because we have 0 for red, ff for green, which is the max value, 00 for blue, and the line color is going to be the same. So line color is going to be also 00 ff00. That is that. We're going to copy that now. We're going to replace gain with loss, like this, and we're going to replace the colors to be FF and then zeros. There you go. All right, so this is the basic candlestick chart. I think this should already be possible to visualize. Now, the important thing is that you, of course, need to return the plot, but I think this should already work without the indicators. I'm not sure if we need the indicators to get this to run, but we're going to try now. So what we need to do in order to serve this is we need to run a Bokeh server, since this is Python code running. So I'm not sure if we can just run it like that. No, because it then ends. So what we need to do is we need to go into the respective library, into the respective directory, sorry. And we need to say Bokeh serve -- show, and then we need to say main py. So this opens up our interface. So I can now say AAPL TSLA for Apple and Tesla. Then I can say from this date up until this date, I can select something, but it doesn't really change much. So load data. And there you go. We have our two candlestick charts. We can see that those are two different stock prices. And now I can also see that the axes are hopefully synced. There you go. So the x-axis is synced, the y-axis is not. Doesn't make a lot of sense because the prices are different. But we can also zoom in. So I can select this here. I can zoom into the individual candlesticks. And you can see this here, this line is the segment. And those are the V-bars, red and green. And you can see that this is a nice candlestick chart. So what's left now is we need to plot the indicators. So what we want to do here now is we want to, let me just end this here. What we want to do is we want to say, okay, are there any indicators? If yes, plot the respective indicators. So we want to go here and we want to say for indicator in indicators, if the indicator is equal to the 30-day SMA, what we want to do is we want to calculate it by saying df SMA 30 is going to be df close price. We're going to use the rolling command to get a window of 30 days, and we're going to calculate the mean over the last 30 days. That's the basic idea. And we're going to say then that we want to have a line which is going to represent that moving average. It's going to be df index and then df SMA 30. The color of this is going to be purple, and the legend label, so that we can distinguish between the individual lines if we have multiple indicators, the legend label is going to be the 30-day SMA. That is that. Otherwise, if the indicator is equal to the 100-day SMA, we can just copy this code here. This was the wrong command. There you go. 100 and 100 and 100 and 100. And then we can also make one for the linear regression line. And in this case, what we want to do is we want to use NumPy to do some basic linear regression. We're going to say that the parabola, so par is going to be equal to np.polyfit. We're going to fit on the range of the length of the df index values. So we're just going to generate some numbers for the values of the dates. We're going to fit on the close price values, and we're going to then say that the slope of this resulting curve, or actually line, is going to be 0, 0, and the intercept is going to be found at index 0, 1. And then we want to do some predictions. So ypret is going to be equal to slope times I plus intercept for I in range length df index value. So we're just going to take the values that we fitted on here. We're going to use them again to do the predictions, to make the predictions. That's basically the predictions. And then we're going to just draw a simple segment, which is going to be a straight line from the start to the end with the respective slope and intercept. So we're going to say just df index 0, y predicted, or ypret index 0 up until df index -1, which is the last element, and then df, or actually ypret index 1. So from the first values, first x value, first y value, to the last x value, last y value. And actually want to use here parentheses, not square brackets. And then we're going to say that the legend label here is going to be linear regression, and the color of this is going to be red. And here we want to change the color to, I don't know, green or something. Or maybe let's go with blue so that we can see it better. That's that. And finally, what we want to do is we want to say that we want to have the legend location to be in the top left corner, at least for most stocks, because they go up from the bottom left to the upper right. Not always the case, obviously, but for most stocks, that's probably going to be the case, at least for most stocks that we're going to look at. Click policy, we want to set this one to hide so that we can hide the legend by clicking on it. That should basically be it. So let's go ahead and run the server again, and let's see if we can plot the indicators. So let's go again, Apple. This time let's compare it with Meta, and let's go ahead and say from this date up until this date here, and I want to use all of these indicators. Load the data. There you go. You can see here that we have the 100-day moving average in blue. You can see it starts here because those are the first 100 days. We cannot calculate this metric for those first 100 days because we don't have the 100 days before those dates. 30 days average starts here because we don't have the 30 days for those 30 days here. And then we have the linear regression line. And we can zoom into that. We can move the x-axis here, and you can see that it happens here as well. We can also zoom in here. But yeah, that is essentially how you build your own customized financial dashboard in Python. Now, you can play around. You can add some more widgets. You can add more UI elements, more indicators. You can compare 5 stocks. You can also plot a pie chart of your portfolio to see the diversification. You can do a lot of things here. This is just a toolkit, and this is just one example of what you can do, a simple stock comparison here in the web. Feel free to experiment and to be creative. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and hope you learned something. If so, let me know by hitting a like button and leaving a comment in the comment section down below. Also, thanks to Bixley for sponsoring this video. Check them out at the link in the description down below. Besides that, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to not miss a single future video for free. Other than that, thank you much for watching. See you in the next video, and bye.